Amrabat then. Now, I think this is one that United get done right at the back end of the window. I think obviously you had your Mount come in, you've had your Onana come in. The striker has to be next. But I think if you're going to do a fourth transfer, another midfielder makes the most sense, especially with the talk that Fred's probably going to go and who knows what's going to happen with Donny van der Beek. I would suspect he goes as well. Amrabat brings a level of experience and a level of quality without the demand that he's going to expect to play every single week. And I think he gives us a real tactical flexibility as well. There's a valuation of somewhere in the region of 30 million euros, which I think is fine. I think that's absolutely fine. So let's look into him a little bit then. So obviously 26-year-old Moroccan, really sort of caught people's imagination during the World Cup with those defensive displays, but that's not what he's obviously got that, but that's not what he's necessarily about. He's a little bit more box to box, a little bit more creative actually than what we saw from him. He did a really specific job during the World Cup for Morocco and he played it to a T. But he's played for Utrecht, hence the links with Erik ten Hag and Manchester United. He was at Feyenoord, Club Bruges, Hellas Verona and Fiorentina. Obviously currently plays for Fiorentina and he's loved by the fans. He's got that cult hero sort of vibe about him and I think he would get the same at Old Trafford. I think he'd be loved. And at 26, he's either just entered or is about to enter his prime years. Back in 2018, he was described by former Morocco head coach Hervé Renard as a warrior. And I think we all saw that back in December in Qatar. That's the reputation that he brings with him. And this is why I think he's a perfect addition to the squad. Fred looks like he's going. And there is a hole being left in the squad. Like McTominay has some qualities, but I think he's a mid-level Premier League player. And I think having some of those in the squad to give people a night off is fine. But I think if you want a little bit more quality and a little bit more flexibility to be able to take the game to people, you need players that can perform specific duties. And I think Amrabat really sort of fits that role. And he's an upgrade on Fred and will probably come in and do what Fred did to a certain degree. Now, while I think it's likely that he wouldn't start every week, there would be a lot of games where he is the ideal partner next to Casemiro and potentially even replace Casemiro in a bit of an emergency situation. The Etihad, Anfield, Emirates, tough places that you want to go to in Europe where you want to just pack the midfield and really contain rather than look to exploit. He would bring some stability, he would bring some character, he would bring a little bit of aggression and fire. And as he's been described, he'd bring a little bit of warrior to that midfield, which I don't think is a bad thing. Now, we know that he can play that intelligent defensive midfielder role. He was the heartbeat of the Morocco side that shocked everyone getting to a World Cup semi-final. Arguably the most important player in that World Cup run. And United's interest in him maybe it was sparked by that, but certainly will be furthered by the performances that he's put up in Syria this season, and as well probably the relationship and knowledge that Ten Hag holds of him in the first place. During the World Cup, he won possession more than any other player at the tournament with 57, which is a hell of a stat. I guess someone had to be top of it, but winning it more than anybody else just shows you the job that he was doing. He is tenacious. He's capable of covering every single blade of grass. And I think maybe even as tenacious as Fred was, but with a little bit more on the other side of the ball, because he's calm on the ball. And I think being calm on the ball and ferocious off the ball brings a certain something to a team that I think would be a brilliant asset for us. He also made that unforgettable tackle against Mbappe in a very, very commanding World Cup semi-final performance, despite the 2-0 loss. One of my favourite games at the World Cup, in all honesty. I was sat with the Morocco fans. It was like a Morocco home game. There was about 13 French in the entire stadium and 11 of them was on the pitch. It was a brilliant showing and he was at the heart of everything. But he is also a composed ball player. Now, we didn't really see that during the World Cup. It was what you've seen in Italy has really made you go, hang on, where's that come from? And it's very, very high ball playing qualities. Probably underrated compared to, and maybe even better than his defensive work, which is good. Fiorentina enjoyed the second highest amount of possession in Serie A. Maybe that makes his defensive stats not as impressive as they was at the World Cup, but you would expect it to be similar for United. United are going to have probably top 4 most possession in the Premier League this season. But them having possession allowed Amrabat to stand out on the ball, with the ball. And last year he attempted 67.12 passes per 90, which puts him in the 89th percentile across European top 5 leagues. And he completed 88.8% of those passes, which puts him in the 95th percentile. And it highlights the importance of how you would retain the ball and get it back if you need it, if you put this kid in your team. And I think that's exactly why Ten Hag's gone, yeah, get me someone that can do a bit of that. And he's not wasting those passes either. And he's not just crabbing them. He averages 7.93 progressive passes per 90, which again is elite in the 92nd percentile. And he could partner any of our midfielders in any role you wish to put him in. I can see him replacing Casemiro when he's suspended or injured or needs a night off. I could see him partnering Casemiro when you've got a tough game that you need to go to. I could even see him going playing further up the pitch if you asked him to, because he's got those qualities. So how does he fit in? Well, like I said, I see him taking Fred's role. And what's Fred's role? Well, sometimes it's a bit of a 6 when you've got a bit more of a defensive job needs doing. Sometimes it's maybe come on, win the ball, keep the ball. Although Fred didn't really keep the ball all that well, he definitely won the ball quite well. You know, you could push him in as a number 10 in certain games. You can play him as a box-to-box number 8, giving you energy and legs in certain games. And you can play him as a holding midfielder in certain games. And that's the flexibility that I think he brings to United's side. He can pair with pretty much any midfielder in the team that you want to name, which is a huge asset to have. I think that role, yes, you can give us your fantasy Manchester United 11 for next season. Real life ain't like that. You need probably 14, 15, 16 first choice players to get an 11 out every single week. And I think one of those is Amrabat. Now, if I've not convinced you already, I think he's an excellent signing. If you were sitting on the fence going, shit, Steve, I don't know where you're going with this. Do you rate him or not? Yeah, I do. And I think at the price quoted, it's an absolute steal. Yes, a striker is imperative. Get the striker done, because we ain't doing fuck all without it. As soon as that's done and you've made some sales, which I think is key to what we're trying to do, next objective should be to bring Amrabat in, because I see so many ways that he adds to this squad. And if he's signed, I think United's ability to go, look, fucking City and Liverpool put 13 past us in 2 league games last year. 7 at Anfield, 6 at the Etihad. That doesn't happen with this kid in midfield. You don't get overrun. You don't get run through on the transition. Look what Brighton did to us at Wembley. That doesn't happen. Look what City did to us at Wembley. That doesn't happen. You got someone in there that's happy to sit in, has got the discipline, and then can keep it. Because one of the problems when you don't have the ball a lot is you win it back and you panic and you get the ball up the pitch and then they cut out your counter and then they just start playing around with it again. You've lost the ball. When you win the ball, you want to be good with it. And he's good with it. And I think he would be an incredible signing for us if we manage to bring him in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you want him? Have I changed your mind on him? Do you think we'll get him? See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.